Hello, so today I'll be talking to you guys about good study tips for microbiology. I just finished my summer course of microbiology at my current university, and I know for many schools, our school in particular, it's the hardest prerequisite course to take for nursing. So thankfully that is out of the way. We found out our grades on Monday, and I did a lot better than I expected to do. So that's great, and I really hope that these tips help you out. I will talk about lab in this video, and then in the next video, I'll talk about lecture. Okay, so without further ado, we had to buy this book. It's the lab manual. It's the laboratory manual and workbook and microbiology applications to patient care, 11th edition, by Paul A. Granado, Verna Morden, and Josephine A. Morello. Our class was set up in the way where we had to take a quiz every single class period, but it was on the material that we learned the class before this upcoming class. So that gave us a great opportunity to review our notes and review the book that we had, like the sections that we had to read. So what I would do to prepare for each class was I would read the material that we were going to go over that class day, and then I would also look back at the material that I read and that we went over the last class. And I would answer questions after every single chapter that we're given, and also I would look at my notes. So for example, this is a big day when we learned about biochemical testing. And I saw these notes, I read them, and I also rewrote them in another notebook. So this forced me to actually see, what I wrote and understand everything. After lecture, every single class period, I would have a few extra hours to study for lab, so that's all I did. I went to, I found a good place to study, and I did that. I also went to open lab periods, which was every other day, so when I wasn't in class, I was always in the lab. And we had TAs that would help us with whatever we needed help on. This is also a time where I was able to take a lot of pictures because our lab coordinator did not want us to take pictures during our lab times. So we had to go afterwards if we wanted to take the pictures. That was helpful for the midterm and the final that I'm going to talk to you guys about. For the midterms and finals, we received a 2 to 3 page outline. For the midterm, it was shorter than the final because we didn't cover as much, earlier on in the semester. Everything was cumulative, so we had to know what we learned that whole entire summer. But I would get this, and I turned it into a 20, I want to say like 20, midterm it was about 27 pages long, 21 to 27. I added 9 extra pages for the final. But what I would do was I would just look, number 1 is the microscope. And it's like identify the parts and their functions and then terms associated with microscopy. So I had a picture that I found off the internet, and I just added the terms that I needed to know as well that weren't on here. And then I just identified the terms associated with microscopy. So that's what I did. One of the things that I liked was the biochemical testing. There were so many different biochemical tests that we did that it was pretty hard to keep everything together. So I would take pictures during open lab of some of the tests that were set up, and I would just, make a little study guide like this. And when we went over the outline that we were given in class, I could just add something extra that I totally forgot to add. So I wrote all over my study guide. And it was very helpful because I would just take this. We took our midterm right after the 4th of July. So I was with my family and I was able to study off of this lab manual while, we were waiting to do something, or, when I had some downtime during that weekend, which is actually very helpful. Everything that I needed to know was in this manual, and I could just bring it anywhere I wanted to. For the different microbes that we had to know, including algae, bacteria, protozoa, helminths, viruses, fungi, etc., I would make cards. So, for example, this has been in the news very recently. This is a virus, and what is it, guys? Okay, well, I can't hear you, so I'm just going to say it. This is a picture of Ebola, and in the back it tells me all about the Ebola virus. So I would quiz myself. It was a great time to quiz myself and see, for example, this one is Aspergillus niger, and this one is a picture that I actually took during my lab time, and it's Penicillium notatum. And notatum. And so I would just quiz myself like that. I would also write it down so I knew how to write down the name, because a lot of these names are very interesting and sometimes very hard to, write unless you actually know how to constantly write it. So that is pretty much what I did to study for lab. Lab was a lot easier to me than in a lot of my other science classes that I've taken, because it is a lot of hands-on stuff that you're doing, and so you're being tested on what you did in class, and I'm a very hands-on learner, so it was a lot of fun. Please watch the next one if you need to learn about some good study tips for a lecture. If you have any suggestions for the next video, please comment below. Tip suggestions, comment below. Thank you. Have a great day.